Racing in Formula One is a dream for many, but only a few know the actual road to racing in F1, and even fewer race towards making their dream of racing in F1 come true. Well, Gaurav Kochar is one of those very few people. He is a Formula 4 racing driver and is currently racing with Team Momentum Motorsports. He has won the Go-karting championship in Singapore and he has won the Dubai endurance race with his team as well. So, we have tried to break down his journey with cars, with racing on this episode of Shift with Motordrift. Welcome, Gaurav. Glad to have you on the podcast.
Hi, Rishabh. It's a lot of pleasure for me to be here as well. I'm very excited about this conversation that we're gonna have. It's nice to have an enthusiast talk about it as well. So
Yeah,
let's have some fun. Yeah.
yeah, let's go. Now, how did you get into cars? Like, at what age, did the interest start to develop?
So so when I was really young, from when I was two, I've always been into cars. All my toys, everything have been cars. And so when I was 2 years old, I started saving like so we used to get like these coins and pocket money, right?
Yeah.
So and there used to be in Hindi it's called hundi, where you or a wallet or a purse where you keep all your money. You collect money and you keep in it when
Hmm.
you're a kid. So what I used to tell my parents from when I was 2 years old is that once I become big, I'm gonna save so much money that once I turn 20, I'm gonna buy a supercar with it. So that's how my whole journey started. I've been into cars from when I was 2 years old. And then I started go-karting. There was a small track in Ooty. It was just a circle, but I used to go there very often. And then I used to like just drive that circle. I used to love it. And my parents saw that I used to like it a lot, and they were like, "Yeah, he's very he keeps going, and he's nice at it." But then there wasn't much opportunity in Kunur, so there was a track in Coimbatore. In Coimbatore, there used to be a go karting track, and
Hmm.
it's closed now. But I went there twice, and over there when I went, I was training. I just went for fun, and over there, a person saw me, and he was like, he races well. So he was like, why not put him in training? This was when I was 8 years old. And
Hmm.
then I went for training, and then I did a few races. I won one race as well at that time. But then what
Hmm.
happened was I couldn't travel every day, and there wasn't much opportunity because I had to travel from Kunur and then my
Hmm.
academic. So my parents didn't let me do that a lot. But then I was doing it. I was training. I was getting better at it. But after a point, the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th had come. And then I took a break. And then after 8th, I took a break. And then I took a break from racing for 5 years. I didn't do anything related to racing. I regretted. That's my biggest regret about my life, because if I would have continued, I would have reached a lot higher right now, or I would have been in Europe as well racing, which is the dream. So because I took that break, it was a huge step back in my career in racing. But I learned a lot from that stint as well. I joined cricket. I played cricket for 3 years. I was a state level cricketer as well in the middle, and then once I moved to Bangalore, I didn't tell my parents that I have this training session in go-karting and I'm going for it. But I didn't tell my parents about it because they were like, again, they'll be like, no, don't go. Why do you want to start it again all over? So I just went, and over there, they liked me a lot. I did very well. It was my first stint, and they had a race at the end of the training. I won that. And they liked me so much that 10 days later, they were going to Dubai for a race, and they took me along with them. So that's when I went back home and I told my parents that, okay, this happened, this is happening, and now this team is going to take me to Dubai for a race. So then my parents are like, okay, now what can we do? So now you go. You've already done all this, then you go. So then that's when my racing journey restarted. And I'm really glad about my parents supporting me as well, because not a lot of Indian parents, or
Hmm.
generally parents, firstly, it's very dangerous, the sport. Yeah, so I'm very glad that my parents actually allowed me to pursue the sport. It's a big emotional burden for them, and secondly, it's very financially, very expensive as well, this sport. So you have to have the financial support from your parents, at least in the beginning, and at least even now at times I do ask my parents for financial support for the sport. So it is pretty tough, the sport. It is very emotionally draining and financially draining. So if you want to get into the sport, I would suggest that you are prepared for all of this that needs to come. I will share a lot of more experience as well that as we go along this podcast. But yes, so I'm very glad of that, and I'm very happy that my parents actually supported me, and they still are supporting me, and
Mm.
my mom every day she prays for me before, like every day she prays for my safety. So it's a big thing for them. She's still scared, but then she doesn't show it out. And when I'm on track, I'm the happiest, so she knows that. So yeah, so
Mm.
that's about it. And yeah, right now, so last year I jumped to Formula 4, and it's called Formula LGB, Formula 1300s in India. So I started racing in that. I took half a season only because I wanted to get used. I've never raced in these cars before. So this was the first time I raced, and I just took half the season to get used to the car and see how the car works and how the gear shift, brakes, everything is different from a go kart. So I was getting used to it, and I wanted to see how the competition is, how the overtakes are done, because it's very different from training. Training, you
Mm.
don't have the racing scenario. So this year I did that, and hopefully this year now I have a better hang of it. Last year I had the second best timing, even though I was a rookie. I didn't do a
Mm.
lot. I had the second best. I mean, me, Amir Syed, he's my schoolmate and he was the champion last year. He clean swept all the 14 trophies. All the 14 trophies was won by him. He came first in every single race. The races that he started eighth as well, he finished first. And he's 16, and he's been racing since he was eight again, and he's 16. So he's been doing this, and he clean swept. And Homicide and I were the only people who broke the 1 minute 17 barriers in our category. So I was really proud of that. So hopefully this year, then I can, like Amir, clean sweep the trophy slate this year. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm hoping for this year, and hopefully I get more sponsors as well. And hopefully this podcast also helps me to put my name out there and get to know a lot of people. So I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rishabh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So yeah,
yeah, that 5-year break, like I think that in the world of motorsports, that is a lot. Because I have
yeah, that's
literally
a lot.
seen, I had I think a super truck series racer on my podcast, and he was like, when he was 3, his dad had already enrolled him in a training school, and he has been
Oh,
racing since he was 3 years old. And I was like, dude, and like
yeah,
when I compare myself to him, like, dude, what I was doing at 3 years old, I was like, damn.
yeah, exactly. So you know Charles Leclerc, right? He started when he was 4 years old. He started go karting when he was four, and in his first cup he won when he was six.
Mhm.
So that's when he started. He raced when he was six. So you
Mhm.
need your parents' support as well. That's the biggest thing. When you start that, if you for racing, I feel like you need your parents' support because that's where it begins.
Exactly. And once I even saw a reel, like this of the costs that are involved in from a
Yeah,
person to actually become an F1 driver. And I was like, dude,
yeah,
like a person can me who is, like coming from a middle class, dude, we can, like
yeah,
never afford to go
yeah.
into F1. Probably
Yeah,
never.
for me, yeah,
There are a
sorry.
few
Yeah, for me also,
exceptions.
I feel. So yeah, there are a few exceptions, and you need that talent and you need that backing as well. So I
Mhm.
still feel like if I would have raced a lot, if I wouldn't have taken those 5 year break, then I would have. It would have been a lot easier for me to get sponsors and to reach Europe and race.
Mhm.
But now I know, like it's still a dream. Touch
Mhm.
wood, I might still come true. I mean, I don't want to stop dreaming, but I know that it's a far-fetched dream. So I want to work towards making myself into IndyCar or maybe Formula Lamborghini or maybe the racing series in Asia or Le Mans. So I'm working towards that as well. So if not Formula One, I still want to be in the racing scene and I want to
Mhm.
make my name in racing.
Yeah.
So I still want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. If it hadn't been for those 5 years of break, I think you might be in Formula 3. You might have been in Formula 3 or Formula 2.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Formula 3 at least, or Formula 4 in Europe at least. So either
Mm.
that, one of those. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
true.
like, how did you get into racing in particular? Like, did you used to watch F1 when you were younger? And like, how?
Yes. So my uncle, he's a huge F1 fan. He's a huge Ferrari fan,
Mm.
and I used to sit there. So this is my actually not uncle. He's my brother. My
Mm.
so he's my brother-in-law actually. I'm related in both the sides to him. He's my brother and brother-in-law. So he used to come home every summer, and he used to come and watch F1 whenever he was here. So that's how I got into the sport. And he knew that my love for cars was always there. And whenever I used to go visit him, also, he used to have these posters and he used to talk about F1 and cars and how F1 is very is not a prominent sport in our country, and how everyone, but how it is in Europe and how it's so intense. And he used to explain the sport to me about how beautiful it is, what happens inside, and everything. So, and he went for all the three races that happened in India. No, two races that happened in India. So he went for both of them, and I was influenced by him, to be honest. And then I started from there, and I watched. So I've been watching F1 since I was seven.
Mm,
And then I got into the sport, and now I'm here. Now it's like a way of life for me. I
mm,
can't wait to watch the qualifying today as well. It's gonna be
yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Uh,
And I think that the Indian Grand Prix, like that,
yeah,
just took the F1 fans from India to the next level. Because before
yeah,
that, their influence
yeah.
wasn't on that level.
Yeah, but I also think that the Indian GP didn't do that much as the show Drive to Survive did. Like a
Mm,
lot more people started watching F1 after Drive
mm,
to Survive. In
mm,
the Indian GP, I feel like the main reason they didn't become a success was because they couldn't fill the stands, firstly, and secondly, the government put a lot of taxes on
FIA.
bringing the sport to India.
Yeah.
So the customs are very high on each part of the car.
Mm,
So then that's why they couldn't afford it, and they were like, okay, we can't do this. But hopefully, we still might see F1 back in India, maybe in the next 3 4 years.
mm,
So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed if it
mm,
happens.
mm. And
Yeah.
the
I'm looking forward to race in Bud
yeah.
this year. I'm gonna race in Bud this year.
Oh.
So for the JK Tire Championship. So
Mm.
yeah, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, and I think that in the Indian government categorize them as entertainment and not as like a
Yeah,
legitimate sport.
yeah. That's true. That's why the taxes were high, because they considered it an entertainment and not a sport. That's true.
Exactly, and that
Yeah,
made the FIA kind of pissed off, and they were
yeah,
like, okay, never again.
yeah, yeah. True. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So like, what was the first step? Like after you took the decision of getting into racing, like seriously, like you enrolled in an academy or a training school.
Yeah, I enrolled in a academy. It's called Prudent Motorsports. So I enrolled with them. They're a Calcutta-based racing team, and I enrolled with them. And I started with four-stroke. Four-stroke is the so there is difference between a four-stroke, two-stroke, and there are two strokes. Two
Mm,
strokes is Rotax and X30,
mm,
and then there are gear shift carts.
yeah.
So the four stroke is what you use for like normal go-karting track, where people go have fun in those carts. So I started with that, and the four stroke also has a differentiation. There are like faster to four strokes and four strokes. Sorry. So what happens is the slower four strokes are given to the public, and the fastest four strokes are given for training for beginners. And then you move to two stroke. Two strokes are really hard to handle. It's the closest. I feel that karting is the best form of racing, because you everyone has the same car. Everyone,
Mm,
it's just your potential, and there's no mechanics. There's no differentials. There's no suspension, active suspension, nothing. It's just you, the road, and your car, and you're sitting so close to the tarmac. It's the best form of racing, and the brakes, everything's depending on you. So I love karting. It's the best, especially the two-stroke. There's X30. X30 is the World Championship karts. That's what the karting World Championship happens in. And then there is Rotax. Rotax is again another form of karts, which happen worldwide as well. But in India, it's very prominent. The Rotax Championship.
mm,
And I took part in the four-stroke national championship as well, where I came in Tamil Nadu. I came first, and in the national championship, I lost. I came fourth. I entered the final round, and then I finished fourth. So yeah,
mm,
that was in
yeah.
Achi. Yeah, that was also there. I haven't done a lot of two-stroke karting. I've only done with these. I haven't gone for the national championship in two stroke, because again I didn't have a lot of practice in that. But then as I got practice, the pandemic hit, so then I couldn't
Mm,
really go for the championship. And then I had a choice between Formula 4 and the X30 national championship,
mm,
and I chose Formula 4 because I thought that okay, now my age and everything, I want to get into Formula. I don't want to still be in karting. So then I jumped to Formula 4. But I have a lot of experience in karting. I did that for before. So when I rejoined racing,
Mm,
I did karting for 4 years,
mm,
and I was training for 2.5. Then I took part in those championships in Dubai and Singapore, and
mm,
then yeah, I haven't in India. I did only this within the club racing, which I won a lot of trophies in that. But other than that, I didn't take part in the national. Only national I took part was four stroke and the
mm.
JKTI national championship.
Yeah. And I think that, like go-karts are probably the best way to, test the talent out of drivers. Because,
Yeah,
like
true.
everything is the same. And the only difference
Yeah.
that's going to make is the driver's skill.
Yeah, true. That's exactly why I love go-karting, because it's your skill that matters.
Mm,
And the engines, everything, chassis, everything is one make. So there's
mm,
no, and the tires, everything, you get the same tires. Your tire management is also shown
mm,
a lot in that. The
mm,
setup is almost the same. I mean, you can change the camber, caster. Not a lot of setup changes can be done. It's just a few setup changes that can be done. And
mm,
then the telemetry actually says that. So we have these data sessions after every session on track where we have GoPros, we have the I forgot. Um, we have this thing on the screen. It's called Micron.
mm,
Microns. We have Microns, so it's kept on our steering wheel and gives data when I brake, when I accelerate, and it gives exact moment that okay, where am I turning? Where do I start? So is it a late apex or mid apex? So then we compare our data, and when we compare our data, it shows that we have the same cards, but then where
mm,
am I losing time? So that helps a racer a lot. That okay, so this
mm,
person is gaining time here, and I'm
mm,
losing time here.
mm,
So I know that okay, I need to brake later, I need to brake earlier, I need to accelerate earlier through the corner out.
mm,
So that makes a lot of difference. I think being a racer, racing is important. You need the skill, but then after you're done with the session, you sit and you look at your data for 1 2 hours. You see, you compare your data with others. I think that's very important. I mean, when you have a good coach, I think you should sit with the coach and see what you're making, where you're going wrong, what are your mistakes. All of that helps a lot. So
mm,
if anyone wants to is aspiring to be a racer who's listening to this, please do go through your data a lot and go through your videos. Take a GoPro. I know it's a big investment, a GoPro, but then GoPros are the best. Never go for a substitute of GoPro, and go look at the image again and again and again, where you're making the turns, where you're doing what and you're doing something right. You know that okay. And reference points in racing is very important. So your reference points, say suppose so in F4 there's a track called Curry Motor Speedway.
mm,
So in the first corner, the 100 mark comes. So that's my reference point to start braking for the turn. And then I have a reference point to turn where I'm going to turn my car. So reference and and honestly, reference point, however fast you're going, you always remember that reference point. And
mm,
when you mark a reference point, you keep doing that again and again and again. So you know your car's limit as well. And sometimes your car might not be up to speed, or your tires might not be warm, or your setup might be different. So you know
mm,
that okay, so I need to brake a little earlier than this. So you
mm,
know that that reference point is always there. I can't brake later than that. If I do, I go straight ahead. So reference points are very important.
mm. And
Yeah.
like I have never driven, like go-karts in real life, but I have driven them in GTA, and they are the most fun
Oh,
vehicle I've ever
oh, you
driven.
can drive go karts in GTA. I didn't know this. I didn't know you
Yeah,
can drive go karts
cheat
in
codes.
GTA. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I didn't know this. Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
fun.
the most fun
So,
vehicle.
oh,
Now,
okay.
yeah, like now, can you explain to the audience about like Formula 4 specifically, its significance, and like why was it created?
So basically, Formula 4, I think, was created for two reasons. The first reason is to scout talent so that bigger teams can actually come scout talent and then go one step ahead. And kids coming from go-karts and jumping to Formula 1
Mm,
or Formula 2 can be a huge, because generally there are shifter carts as well, but most of the championships might not happen in shifter carts. They happen in normal gearless carts. So taking a jump from a go-kart to Formula is very important, because you get used to the cars, you get used to a gear shift, gear lever, you get used to uh, the the wing, the downforce, uh, the G forces. There is a lot of G forces on carts as well. But over here you have a bigger car, so you know you're overtaking, where you're supposed to overtake. and all of that comes into play. So I feel like that is one, and the second is to earn money, because a lot of people, they just want to drive, they just want to come and drive because they want the rush. So Formula 4 is like the stepping stone into formula racing. So they want, a lot of people, they just want to come, spend money, and race. They want to get a feel of how it races. So
Mm.
that's how these tournaments, they earn as well. So they earn from those people, and then they can actually scout, and then they can promote the good drivers so that they can go to the next level, Formula 3, Formula 2. And so this Formula 4 India, that's like a stepping stone. And then the MRF one is better than JK Tire. So once you go to JK Tire, then MRF, and then there is Asia Formula 4,
Mm.
Southeast Asia Formula 4, and then there's Europe. So you can either do the Southeast Asia Formula 4 if you're looking for sponsors and then go to Europe, but if you have the money, then you can directly skip to Europe. So then you find a team there and you train with them, and then you go and step forward. So Formula 4 is like a stepping stone. You're getting used to Formula cars. You're getting used to the size, the weight difference in the car,
Mm.
the suspension, the chassis. The chassis is a very important part of a car. So one of the most important parts. So you get used to the chassis. You get used to the different down forces, the camber, the caster, the speeds, the where you take a turn. Because go karts is very, the braking is very different in a
Mm.
go kart. Your braking is a lot harder, right? But in some cars in Formula 4, it's not that hard. So you're getting used to Formula, and then you move to Formula 3, Formula 2. So it moves like that. It's just getting used to the whole space and world of Formula.
Yeah. And even I read that, like Formula 4 was created because, like it acts as a bridge between go-karting and Formula 3.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's accessible. That's what I'm trying to say. It brings you to the world of Formula so
Hmm.
that you can get used to everything.
Yeah. Because the difference
Yeah,
between these two types of vehicles is huge. Formula
huge.
3 and
Yeah, true.
go-karting. Exactly.
Yeah. So in Formula 4, you have the wing, you have the rear wing as well. So
Hmm.
there's a lot more aerodynamics that's happening. But in go kart, like I told, it's just you're driving, and
Hmm.
there's not a lot of things that the cart is doing. It's just you're driving that's happening, and that's why it's the purest form of racing, which is go
Hmm.
kart.
Yeah.
Not a lot of aerodynamics
Hmm.
that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that, like it feels like the go-kart is built around that driver.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, true.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. It actually is. The go
Hmm.
kart is made for a person. So a lot of people buy go karts.
Hmm.
So in Europe, this is very common, where fathers or their parents buy a go kart for you, and then
Hmm.
you build that go kart for you, and then you keep racing that go kart as you go ahead.
Yeah.
So in Europe, that's very common to buy a go kart for a son and then continue with that.
Hmm. That's why we have too many Formula 1 drivers coming in from there.
Yeah. That it is. Yeah, it is true that it's a lot easier also for people to get into Europe, because that's where the whole racing scene is,
Hmm.
and the big teams are there. It's easier for them to scout and to take people in from their own country. And a lot of teams, like say suppose Haas, they wanted an American. They somehow they still want an American driver, and they wanted a German driver as well. That's how they came and hired Mick Schumacher. And Ferrari, they also prefer an Italian driver for their team. So it
Hmm.
does work like that. They prefer their country drivers because the language barriers, all of that is
Hmm.
there. So sometimes they prefer their own drivers, their own nationality drivers.
Hmm. Yeah.
It is a very biased sport as
Hmm.
well. A lot of politics is involved in it as well.
Hmm.
So that's the
Yeah. Now, like, where do you start with? Like, once you get enrolled in a training school, like, what card do you start on, and like, what are the safety measures you take?
uh, safety measures. So I would like to talk about the safety measures. Well, but first, I can tell you. So there are two ways of starting. My team, that was it was new and they were starting. So I started with four stroke. Four stroke is the normal cars that people use for racing. And then so I was learning my lines in that. I was getting reference points in that. But then those reference points don't usually work because the Rotax engine or the two-stroke engines are a lot faster than the four-stroke engines. So, but you just get the racing lines correct. Racing lines are very important of you being a racer. It's one of the most important things when it comes to racing. The racing line is the shortest angle or shortest way of going through the track in a circuit. That's what a racing line is. So a racing line is very important for a driver. You have to have the correct angle. You have to have the correct the way you're going to turn into. So it's and then there's something called early apex, late apex, or so there are different corners, mid apex, late apex, early apex. So racing line helps you with that. Where should I brake? Where should I actually take the corner? And if I take a late apex or early apex, where can I go on the throttle earlier? So that helped me. The four-stroke carts helped me with that. And then once I got used to that, then I moved to two-stroke. Coming to the safety measure, firstly the suit, it's very expensive. If you want to give me the figures, I can give it to you. Do you want me to give
Yeah.
you the figures?
Yeah.
Okay, so a helmet usually costs around 50,000. A suit almost costs you again 55,000. And but these are very important for your safety. And then you have to have inners which cost you around 25,000. And then you have gloves which cost you 5,000. And then the balaclava which again cost you 5,000. Then the shoes that cost you around 15,000 to 10 to 15,000. That's for the karting. As you go higher, your shoe needs to change and your helmet needs to change as well. So as you go higher and higher, you have to upgrade your stuff as well. So hopefully then you get sponsors by then as you go higher.
Mm.
But yeah, but the safety is very important, and that's why you have all these safety equipments. Everything is fireproof, everything is friction proof, everything is actually built so that you're safe inside. And yeah, it is where it they make it as safe as it is possible for a
Mm.
reason. So there's nothing to worry about, to be honest. If you're not like a rash driver, I mean, on the track, if you know what I mean, you
Mm.
have to be aggressive but not rash. So as long as you're not doing that, you're safe, and you're doing you'll be fine. You don't have to
Mm.
worry about it. And
Mm.
even though injuries do happen, every sport has injuries. You
Mm.
can't you can't hide from injuries. But yeah, it's very common, but also it is very safe, the sport, at
Mm.
least from what it was 15, 20 years back. It is very, very safe.
Yeah.